means life, which is based on the following. As achieving the basic needs by the Colombian state and all of us working together to continue protecting these communities in Arauca, Guajira, Valle del Cauca, we needed to continue with the logic of the migratory policy of the country, which stipulates that after providing the basic needs, we then have to help these children and their families towards inclusion. That is with support of BPRM Project of Life Medios de Vida. And today, I would like to showcase results and efforts. We have much more to show throughout the day, but that is to give general context to these projects. Youth committees in which boys and girls speak out, and finally the geographic level, placing ourselves in Nariño, 2019, when we saw an uptick in the armed conflict. And thanks to these funds for migration, the international community wanting to help these boys and girls, also via the support of the victims unit, in addition to offering protection, possibility to remodel schools and to provide education in those regions. As of 2021, we have reached the south of Colombia. We started 4 years ago, you can remember, in Guajira. This would like to announce that we reached Ipiales with psychosocial support for all the victims of domestic abuse, gender violence, as well as other activities. Support to all the migrants that continue transiting through this country. So in this event, we are going to share the best practices, speak on behalf of the boys and girls that have sent many messages to us that are written throughout this room. And many of them have said, God bless you. God bless you for the work and your efforts to Maria Paula. Thank you very much for that general overview of these last 4 years, showing how in Colombia we have immense interaction with migration or migrants here in Colombia, also displaced populations from Arauca, Guajira, and important amount of migrants in Ipiales. Thank you for those opening remarks. Once again, thanks to everyone following us via the transmission and to all the institutions that are present here in Bogota on a day with so that we may begin now with the progress, the challenge of this implementation. We would like to show on a video of our last intervention in the municipality of Ipiales. Let us play that video, please, of Ipiales.
Soy auxiliar de enfermería, trabajo en este nuevo proyecto en Save the Children.
Siendo parte de Save the Children como médica en la atención en cuanto a maternas, recién nacidos, consultas de morbilidad y planificación familiar.
Soy agente comunitario de la oficina de Ipiales. Mi labor consiste en hacer captación de posibles pacientes a los diferentes servicios que nosotros brindamos a la comunidad migrante, colombianos retornados y población vulnerable.
En Venezuela no teníamos la mejor calidad de vida que se puede decir, no teníamos una buena calidad de vida y salí embarazada de mi pareja, entonces si apenas podíamos mantenernos nosotros, con una bebé iba a ser imposible y no queríamos que nuestra hija corriera con la misma suerte que nosotros. Por WhatsApp siempre había publicidad de que Save the Children prestaba ciertos servicios para la comunidad venezolana, como lo eran atención de psicológica, atención de anticonceptivos. Entonces los anticonceptivos como que me interesaban y me comuniqué con ellos a través de WhatsApp. No sé con quién hablé ese día, pero a través de WhatsApp, y me dieron una cita, me dieron las inyecciones anticonceptivas y también me han venido prestando apoyo psicológico.
Por un grupo de WhatsApp me pareció bien, pues envié el mensaje porque tenía problemas de planificación y esas cosas, y enseguida
Siendo parte de Save the Children como médica en la atención en cuanto a maternas, recién nacidos, consultas de morbilidad y planificación familiar.
Soy agente comunitario de la oficina Planipiales. Mi labor consiste en hacer captación de posibles pacientes a los diferentes servicios que nosotros brindamos a la comunidad migrante, colombianos retornados y población vulnerable.
En Venezuela no teníamos la mejor calidad de vida que se puede decir, no teníamos una buena calidad de vida, y salí embarazada de mi pareja. Entonces, si apenas podíamos mantenernos nosotros, con una bebé iba a ser imposible, y no queríamos que nuestra hija corriera con la misma suerte que nosotros. Por WhatsApp siempre había publicidad de que Save the Children prestaba ciertos servicios para la comunidad venezolana, como lo eran atención psicológica, atención de anticonceptivos. Entonces los anticonceptivos como que me interesaban y me comuniqué con ellos a través de WhatsApp. No sé con quién hablé ese día, pero a través de WhatsApp, y me dieron una cita, me dieron las inyecciones anticonceptivas y también me han venido prestando apoyo psicológico.
por un grupo de WhatsApp me pareció bien, pues envié el mensaje porque tenía problemas de planificación y esas cosas, y enseguida, eso fue enseguida, o sea, envié el mensaje, enseguida me contactaron, y la atención pues muy buena, buenísima, gracias a Dios, pues están ahí apoyando a uno, ya que uno no puede ir a otro lugar a verse, pues ellos están ahí para brindarle la mano a uno. Bueno, que sigan aportando, porque en verdad, o sea, no ayudan a una sola persona, o sea, ayudan muchísimas personas que como yo no tienen, pues, niños, y de verdad agradecido porque en ningún lado me han atendido tan bien.
y Amy con este video tan emotivo de nuestro último viaje ya de nuestra oficina más reciente. Quisiéramos darte la bienvenida a Amy Smith, una inglesa enamorada de este país, trabajando por la protección de los niños y las niñas. Bienvenida.
Muchísimas gracias y buenas tardes a nuestras compañeras acá en presencia y también a ustedes virtualmente. Gracias por acompañarnos en esta celebración de todo el proyecto de BPRM.
Being with us and celebrating this project that we have worked
Bueno,
on.
la brevemente, como ya se ha dicho, yo trabajo con Save the Children en temas de gerente del Programa Nacional de Protección y ahora voy a presentar un poco los logros de este gran proyecto de BPRM que tenemos en toda la frontera con Venezuela y también en Nariño, en Tomaco, Charco, Barbacoas, también en Ipiales y además en Valle del Cauca y en Bogotá. Sigue, por favor. Bueno, en primer lugar voy a empezar con el primer proyecto que tenemos con BPRM, se llama BPRM Frontera, y este proyecto tiene todo básicamente el objetivo de provisión de atención integrada a población venezolana, colombianos retornados y también las comunidades acogidas en todo el tema de protección, medios de vida y de salud. Tenemos 5 objetivos para este proyecto. Todavía es proyectos de protección con fortalecimiento de bienestar, resiliencia y enfrentamientos positivos de la niñez, y también que los niños y niñas que están en riesgos están identificados y referenciados a servicios relevantes acá en Colombia. Y en objetivo 3 tenemos todo el fortalecimiento y establecimiento de mecanismos comunitarios, básicamente para ayudar que las comunidades tienen sus propias herramientas para identificar y prevenir y responder a los riesgos de protección. Objetivo 4, que está muy enfocada en todo el tema de medios de vida, para asegurar que migrantes venezolanos pueden recibir una atención integrada en paquetes de servicios de medios de vida. Y finalmente, y muy recientemente, como María Paula ha dicho, tenemos una atención en temas de salud, sobre todo en atención de salud reproductiva y sexual, y también atención en salud mental y psicosocial. Sigue, por favor. Bueno, para revisar un poco, nuestra teoría del cambio como Save the Children tiene 4 componentes acá. Nosotros intervenimos en el nivel individual con los niños, niñas, cuidadores y padres, también el tema familiar, comunitario e institucional. Y a través de ese proyecto de BPRM Frontera, en esos años que hemos tenido, tenemos un total reach de 71.309 niños, niñas, cuidadores, padres y individuos. Creo que es importante decir que en temas de los componentes que tenemos en ese proyecto, como lo he dicho, tenemos todo el tema de emprendimiento y empleabilidad a través de medios de vida en Arauca y Bogotá. También tenemos toda la atención en protección con comités comunitarios, con temas de gestión de casos, que básicamente es atención para niños y niñas que están en riesgo, para hacer referenciación a servicios relevantes, y también todo el tema de acompañamiento psicosocial, y también el establecimiento y fortalecimiento de comités comunitarios de protección, clubes juveniles, y también muy recientemente una atención para la población caminante en temas de atención de protección y también atención de salud. Sigue, por favor.
Health services. Let us continue, please. In terms of our results, we have 10 friendly spaces established in Guajira, Valle del Cauca, and Arauca departments states. We also have 9 juvenile clubs established, 9 community committees established. And that phase 3, which is up until 2020 to 2021, we have provided attention care to 5,390 boys and girls. Also, provided attention to 726 boys and girls in case management. Those are boys and girls that are at risk of having their rights violated. And we have also provided more than 6,000 kits for hygiene purposes to provide these kids to migrant populations in the departments of Arauca, Guajira, and Valle del Cauca. And more than 9,000 people have received support in terms of child protection in terms of risk identification, forwarding them to receive care with the proper channels. Let us continue, please. And in Needs of Life, which is a new pilot program for this BPRM project, we have included attention and care for 214 beneficiaries, which have started their own businesses this year. Also, 221 beneficiaries have been interviewed for employment opportunities in Colombia in this project. And we have attended 1,240 beneficiaries in terms of psychosocial support. And in health, in this new pilot program, in IPALIS, 1,757 beneficiaries receiving sexual and reproductive and mental health services. It's impressive what has been achieved overall during the pandemic. Everything closed down with all the limitations that we have had. How have you achieved this out in the field? That's true with me. The added value of this beautiful project is the community work, because each department will always looking for close work with community leaders, and also the community committees which have helped greatly during these times of pandemic in order to reach more boys and girls and to help us in their communities. Marvelous. Not just for stabilization, but for looking for livelihoods. Yes, that's the benefit. Everything is with the community. We're working hand in hand with the communities. And to me, that's the strategy for sustainability. It's basically, we are empowering the community so that they may identify, respond, mitigate, and prevent all those risks to child protection in the future. Amy, many thanks for this presentation. It's very encouraging to see all these achievements that have been achieved during the pandemic, and for a specific population, the migrant population, which in many opportunities we only have a single moment to provide them attention, provide them care. For that, we would like to show everyone that's connected right now via Facebook, via YouTube, and the public institutions participating in this room. We'd like to show them our video of migrants, one of the most beautiful strategies we have.
El proyecto de Caminantes busca subsanar las necesidades de esta población que sale de Venezuela a otro país o a ciudades del interior de Colombia. Caminantes brinda una respuesta en el municipio de Arauca desde el 2019 a esta población que ha decidido empezar a caminar. En este momento estamos en el espacio de apoyo de la YEN antioqueña, en la cual nosotros con entidades cooperantes que rige pues en el municipio hemos entrado a dar respuesta en diferentes áreas, brindando atención en todo el tema de prevención del COVID-19, ruta humana y segura, en la cual pues consiste en orientar y ubicar a las personas a su lugar de destino. Con esto permitimos que se optimice tiempo en el recorrido y de esa manera ellos tengan claro la ruta a la cual deben dirigirse. También complementamos con la entrega de asistencia humanitaria, kit de higiene. En su momento estamos entregando también calzado, pañales. Ya hemos identificado esas necesidades. La población llega con necesidades de alimentación, llega con necesidades de transporte, de alojamiento temporal, de higiene, de hidratación.
Días caminando y caminando, gente que nos colaboraban, gente que nos cogían, váyanse de aquí, nos dieron el aventón en una buseta. Cuando llegamos a la orilla del río también nos hicieron el favor de pasar porque no teníamos ni medio para pasar, pues. Y de ahí caminamos hasta un trecho por aquí hace como 2 kilómetros atrás. Ahí pasamos la noche pidiéndole a Dios que no lloviera, pues. Y bueno, ha sido muy duro porque ya casi 15 días caminando, ya uno como agotado, pues, pero siempre el ánimo por delante, pues.
Cuando ya vamos a hacer una atención en ruta, es una consolidación de toda la respuesta, ¿no? Entonces, damos pues los mensajes de prevención del COVID, la socialización de la ruta humana y segura, la entrega de asistencia humanitaria. Dentro de eso también hemos evidenciado pues riesgos a los cuales se exponen los niños y las niñas: mendicidad, abuso sexual, el tema de náfaga, que son niños, niñas asociados a fuerzas o grupos armados, en los cuales pues tratamos de darles una información a esos padres que acompañan a los niños para que los protejan y pues que podamos alejarlos de esa vinculación. También encontramos niños separados y no acompañados.
We know as for that, all of those that are present here, all of this information and everything that is comprised here was done by boys and girls as well as parent committees, so that you can all see what they've done. All right, this was an activity done once again by them. So Erica, you're online. Welcome. All right, well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. You can hear me correctly, yes? Yes, perfect. All right, perfect. Chat a little bit of time. Okay, well, thank you. My name is Erica Prieto. I am accompanying the project as project manager, specifically protection for Arauca, Guajira, and Valle del Cauca for these regions. Our work with boys and girls has truly had great results and has gotten even better thanks to the different humanitarian aid that we've had, that we've implemented in all of the different cities. It is that we generate and develop different tools and skills for community leaders, both male and female, in order to identify what is the context that boys and girls are found in, what are the different ways in which they're being raised, what are the different protections that they're granted, what are the different factors that can protect them against. If there's a concern, how do we state it, and what is the pathway for such statement? Once again, that all these different insecurities for them, regardless of if there are projects inside of the communities or not, or if the organization is present or not. This has been a strategy that has truly helped us out in regard to, has helped us out when it comes to protecting boys and girls, but in addition, regarding the community aspect, it's also identified that it has a very important role to play when it comes to protection, that these different children can be accompanied by different relatives and community members as well that can be directly involved. We are accompanying them through means of different respective committees, and such committees are already established with specific organizations, specific meetings. They have different sessions regarding the identification of risks per every child's side. And they also see how they can manage and develop different procedures to minimize these risks or to make reference to them if there's any kind of concern. There have been replicas regarding different knowledge that was required this time, as well as our work with the communities, other people regarding boys, girls, and you can also see different adolescent clubs, again, about girls that are leaders in the regions, boys and girls that have also met up on a constant basis, that have an action plan in which they meet, they take part, they listen to other boys and girls, they accompany them. Well, they have a positive role as leaders on how the children feel and how they can state their feelings, and among themselves, they've actually done a process in which they've shared their own experiences among these different adolescent clubs, among different committees, committees, and overall, part of what you're looking at right now are just some showings of appreciation that children have for the different adolescent clubs, protective committees. These are some of the ways in which boys and girls have truly been able to express how they feel. And we can also identify certain situations that maybe are not expressed through words, but that we can see through art itself. As you can see, there are different crafts, so to speak, in which we see different topics. But the first message is regarding how thankful they are for the fact that it can be possible for them to meet up, to share their experiences, to state how they feel, to share all the different knowledge that they have all acquired throughout their life, the daily life in this space. Again, these are different elements that were used for all of these different activities. There are different materials that are made out of cycles. There's also some artistic expressions that have been done and made through, for example, the hand of the sueños, which belongs to the adolescent club, and it is there that they can develop all of their different life skills, sewing and craftsmanship, through means of creation of different crafts. We can talk about, for example, keychains. We can talk about patterns that both boys and girls make and that they were able to unite to this. There are some letters, there are some drawings as well that are all part of the Saturday that we have with them. Or I can think of Lector or Leaders Corner, Readers Corner, which is a space and area that is created so that boys and girls can strengthen their reading skills. They can learn to read, write, but they can also learn how to express how they feel. They can imagine different situations, as well as different that may have been very positive for them. There are also other drawings that children wanted to show in regard to different. It's a technique that is used as well on the team when it comes to expressing feelings. It is also used for adequate use of emotions in boys and girls. And it's also where we learn to decipher different situations. In addition, there are a couple of them around here. Yeah, I think there's a problem connection. Yeah, we're talking about Guajira. Yes, and here we see what the children want to show and about regarding COVID-19 and prevention. Can you hear me? We hear you, but you're cutting off. I'm sorry, Eric. I think it's the connection. It's a little bit intermittent right now. Hello? Okay, I can hear you better now. All right, I think we have a difficult connection here. But, well, it's a very in detail explanation because, once again, it's something that's been seen on the front line. It's literally one colleagues that we will always be able to find when it comes to Arauca, Guajira, Maicao, Cali, Palmira, and she's a leader that does not stop. Yeah, that's true. She's the best. And in addition, the different work that you can see on the backward end is perfect. It's marvelous, and it's the result of this. So much so that I also have some earrings that were actually made by them. I'm sorry, I don't know when my connection went out. So, and so with this, well, we're going to close with this explanation here with the different community actions that we have. Because I believe that, well, we don't have time for more. And because in addition, regarding our transmission, we're having some questions, all right? And one of the questions was, what challenges are boys, girls, and adolescents in this protective program? What are the greatest challenges for them? What was, yes, the most difficult thing where you said this is almost impossible? Well, that's a great question, right? Well, I think that for all the different organizations, I would think the pandemic has been the greatest challenge, especially because it's something that was so unexpected. I mean, this is something that the entire world is going through, and it's something that we've never seen in our lifetime. And especially here in Latin America, we have some of the highest COVID-19 rates. And let's say that initially, when the pandemic began, we had to stop, right? We had to stop initially. So this dramatically changed our strategy and problem approach to problems. But I think that something that Erica mentioned, that I've mentioned as well, is that value, the strength, and strength was in this community work and actions. We've been working with our communities, confronting different situations, and that with all our different community committees, they have truly aided so much in order to spread all the different information regarding COVID-19 to all the different communities, and to keep everyone updated on it regarding what to do during this pandemic. For me, it has been essential when it comes to confronting and overcoming such challenges. All right, we have another question. Is what knowledge, what lesson have you acquired working in distant areas such as Guajira, Palmira? Well, wow, that's again a great question. We have a lot of great questions from our audience who are all connected. I would say in regard to teaching and lessons learned, for me, the most important one is to understand that each department is different, right? Even though we have a certain migrant flow, that migrant flow is changing each passing year. For example, we have growing rate of walkers that changes every year. And we're still looking into seeing that there's a greater increase every single time, especially from the Venezuelan population, because they're truly walking all throughout the highway. And it's important for them to know that each department has different implications and problems. For example, Guajira has issues regarding natural disasters, as well as migrant crisis. Overall, they also have drought. And we're talking about different local communities. We have Wayu, for example. So it's truly a truly great lesson that we learned is how are we able to actually implement our material in each region accordingly. And again, we're talking about another department that is a borders department with Ecuador. We're looking again at more migrants that are arriving to Colombia from Ecuador. So for me, this has been the most important part when we talk about all the different sections that we learn from. We have to adjust and adapt our answers based on the dynamic of each department and each community, because each community is different and their needs are different. Thank you very, very much. Now, the $1 billion question for 2022. What is going to happen? Well, that's the $1 billion question. Well, I think that it's a huge challenge, but I think that we would like to keep going with our operations in order to tend to the Venezuelan population, as well as the Colombian Haitian population and all different populations that need to be tended to. I think that for us as well, we want to maintain our control over the different Nariño area, and seeing that the number of different mass migrant events and activities, we can continue to control that, and that they have increased compared to previous years. So for me, unfortunately, we're in a critical moment in which we have a higher migrant flow. We have an affliction of this migrant population that was forced out of their territories. And we have to help these communities. We have to accompany them during these difficult times. Thank you very much, Amy. This is the last question now, and then we're going to see if there are any questions from the institutions. Because I know that there are some questions for Amy. And well, the last question is, how would you be able to materialize into a proposal different ideas for this answer that came up when you were listening to committees. How would you realize when you listen to a committee, how would you make it an effective strategy? Well, I think that the advantage that we have here in Save the Children of Colombia is that everything regarding participation from the committee, let's say, it's all connected, right? Because as I said, each committee is different, there are different challenges and different needs. And so before we move on to any proposal, what we do is to always do an assessment based on the needs. We're not talking just about community leaders. I'm also talking about the children, about the teenagers, about the parents, to truly see, based on the age range, what is their situation, what is their greatest need, and based on that information, we think in the community as a whole, and how can we actually create a proposal? So I think that for me, that is essential. And in addition, it's not just creating a proposal, but we also need to have a very firm, very good strategy, which I personally love, because this is an opportunity to see that with the committee and along with the project, they can share their ideas, their opinions, and other with us. And we can work hand in hand with them in order to strengthen our answer and always make sure that we're doing adequate actions that they need. All right, Amy, well, thank you very, very much. Very, very nice. I don't know if there are any other questions for the institutions. I see that they're all very, very active. Right. Well, first of all, thank you very much for your question. I think that it is important to state that in that project, for example, we have a component that is the strengthening of the technical skill as well as institution. So, for example, regarding protection, we're always working hand in hand on a municipal level, as well as with the people's defendant, with different commissions and security as well. And I think that for each example that I would like to share, well, for one is Guajira. Guajira, for example, we have a focus point there that is very evident, and we always have monthly meetings. And these meetings are an opportunity to speak, to share what we're observing, to look at the different protection that we can provide for the children, what risks there are, and how we can move on with the institution in order to truly provide the best response. Also, on our behalf, we always provide skillful training, for example, attention to different survivors, child survivors, either from sexual abuse. We have different skills regarding social psychoanalysis for both the community and the child, because each person is different. I think it's important to state that it's not just a project to determine that, but every department has different needs and projects for education, for nutrition, and we're always aligned with the Secretary of Education on a municipal level, as well as with the Ministry of Education on a national level, in order to make sure that any kind of intervention is truly aligned with the national curriculum based on the child's age range.
Thank you very much, Amy. Nicholas. There's another question from Nicholas in the audience. Thank you for that question. It's a good question. Out of the field, are seeing more and more that children are alone. The children are alone. They're not accompanied by parents, by guardians. What's the challenge? It's difficult to detect. What happens? Many times these teens come in a group and they say that another one is a cousin. It's very difficult in those 20 minutes that you have to interact with the boy, girl, teenagers to detect that that's happening. What we have done with our teams is that the entire team has been trained in identifying a boy, girl, teenager at risk, especially those that are alone. We have detention routes with ICPF, Children Protection and Wellness Services, which have been trained formally identifying those children at risk, and also other organizations that we are working with our field, social fathers, always training their teams out in the field so that they can identify a boy or girl that is alone, not with a parent or guardian. And when we identify those children, basically activate that comprehensive route with the ICBF Institute and the other agencies in order to provide psychosocial support immediately to that child. Because these children that are alone are the most vulnerable, of course, to possible smuggling, gender violence, sexual violence. So it's important that we not only activate that route, but also provide that psychosocial support to truly understand what that boy, girl, teenager's needs are and what have been their risks during their voyage. Thank you very much, Amy. Maria Pauli. Are there any other questions or on both social networks? Thank you, Amy. Colleagues. So, types of projects that provide attention to the migrant Venezuelan population. In the case of Nariño, Department of Nariño, we are seeing many incidents of violence at armed conflict. How can an organization like Children implement projects related to protection, means of life, livelihood, basically, to inform them and generate awareness with them? Work with other teams? Are there other types of interventions that are linked to these projects? You can tell them. Thank you very much, Maria Paula, for that question. To return here to the stage. Yes, that's a very good question. For me, it's important to say that. Certainly, in Save the Children, we're always looking to provide a holistic and multi-sectoral response to our care. We understand that every boy, every teenager, adult has multiple, not only protection, it's everything. So, for example, in Guajira, right? Attention in health, nutrition, protection. And when we identify the needs of a person, we are referencing that person internally to our other team in order to provide that holistic response. The same in the other departments, states, and externally. It's worthwhile to mention that we're not only humanitarian organization. There are many. There's institutionality. So when we arrive to location, it's very important that we're present at all the technical discussion tables with other organizations. Understand what is the institutional offer, the community offer, and how we can establish those links or those bonds. An example of that is IP Allies. There we are providing mobile attention and health in the shelters. Those shelters are being financed by the OIM and also organized by pastores sociales, social fathers or priests. And we have identified someone that needs sexual education, another type of service. They forward that, vice versa. If someone requires sheltering, we will forward that person to pastores sociales, social priests. We know that we need help out in the regions. This is teamwork. This has to be done together amongst all the agencies. Oh, Amy, thank you. And there is another question, as a matter of fact. Another question that speaks about the importance of funds like the innovations you mentioned in your presentation, COVID-19 times, what would have happened with many boys and girls and many communities if either the PRM funds, organizations like us, would not have been present in the pandemic? What would have been of them with those teenagers, and how were we able to reach them during these times in writing, virtually? Can you give us any examples with indigenous communities as for a long time? This is one of the big contributions we have been able to make thanks to these funds. Thank you very much for that question. In terms, well, the pandemic, as you said, Maria Paula, is a good example. It's a huge challenge. All the schools were closed. And overall, Pacific Coast with the Afro-Colombian and indigenous communities. All those boys and girls were without education during the pandemic. No access, because there's no connectivity, there's no signal out in those rural communities. So we created a program called the Ikulele program, which incorporates all the traditions, the customs of the Pacific Coast in Colombia. And we have translated all content of that program to the Iwaki indigenous language. Of course, respecting the traditions and beliefs of that indigenous community. For me, that is a huge achievement. Something that we have been able to offer thanks to these funds in order to continue providing education to these children during the pandemic. And we need to go out, like I said before, it's about the work out in the community. That year on the border with the white indigenous population, as well as with Venezuelan population in informal settlements, together with our community protection committee, we developed community methodologies for protection. For example, in psychosocial support, collective education. Those are tools that the community has helped us develop in order to provide a response for protection and education to their members during this pandemic. And for me, that is the greatest element. For me, that is real sustainability. To ensure that those communities, anytime in the future, have their own tools that they help develop and build in order to respond to any sudden threats to protection in the future. Like Maria Paula mentioned, it's important to highlight works with the YU indigenous community and in Nariño with the Awa indigenous community. With them, we have channels of communication and in their three languages. And we have personnel on our teams that speak those three indigenous tongues. Last week, we completed the entire program in the Awai language. Right now, it's being heard on radio in the entire southern Pacific coast in Nariño. That has allowed us to approach these communities and have very positive interaction with them. That's correct. Well, with these questions that we have received from the audience, these presentations, we would like to thank all of you. But today, there is a very special surprise. This room, and that's why we have this set up large hall. We want to show you and everyone follows a trailer. Those of us that are here in the room will see it first. Trailer of a documentary that is a result of Save the Children Colombia's experience and work with migrants, victims of the armed conflict that have been displaced, boys, girls, and teenagers. Theatric piece that has been well developed, well produced. It's not to show off, but right now it's in the international competition. Majestic piece of art, not only for Save the Children Colombia, but also for the global Save the Children. That will show in the voices of boys and girls what is happening in the conflict in Colombia, all the victims of displacement. For that, let us welcome the director of this short film, Brave the Children. Jeff, please come on stage, explain what the stats is of the documentary. Please come forward. Have the floor. We're very excited to show this. I think this is the first time in Colombia that we will present this trailer of the documentary officially, because it has been presented abroad, sharing the voices of the most vulnerable boys and girls of our country abroad. So the stage is yours. First of all, good afternoon. I'm very thankful for this opportunity, being able to show the short film called Brave Children. The short film, as you mentioned, talks about 3 different situations which boys and girls in Colombia have been immersed in: inequality, poverty, migration, and how these children overcome the barriers of fear, as you will see on this trailer, what I'm referring to in terms of barriers of fear. And they do so to become what? Brave children, which is the name of this short film. The piece that we put all our heart and soul to. I'm very thankful to Maria Paula and the entire team of Save the Children. You will always be welcome in my house. It's something that I will take with me in my heart. Hope that everyone likes it. Like you mentioned, this short film is in LA, part of LA Shorts International Film Festival, the main festival for short films in the USA. They gave us the possibility of being there. We competed in the documentary category. Then we went to Rhode Island. We were in Flickers, Rhode Island International Film Festival, one of the top 10 film festivals for the USA. Both score judged for BAFTA and Oscars. The short film has opened many doors not only to us, but also Save the Children, in showing internationally what is being done here in Colombia via film. Very interesting in terms of that experience. It was designed by Leonardo Aranguive, president of Disney for Latam, and also Davo Garcia, vice president in Caracol Television. Both reached the same conclusion. It's a theatric, poetic work of art, and it has a very powerful message to share. Those are my remarks. All right, for those that are here in this room and followers, would ask that I ask you, how did you build it? What was the relationship with the boys and girls? How long did it take? Because it was filmed during the pandemic, right? So tell us, give us some more details about recording, filming. Short film was carried out at different stages. So we had pre-production, which I built the idea, I designed the idea. I've been working with Save the Children for approximately 3-4 years already. They gave me the opportunity when I was starting as a producer at a very young age. And I started working with them. One day I said, hey, it would be great if we created a film, a short film about this thing that could be shown globally with theater. So I mentioned this proposal to them, to Save the Children of Colombia. I received the support. They said, that's an incredible idea. Show us what your approach would be. And it was the approach of what I wanted to see audio visually, and then production started there. In my head, I understood clearly what I wanted to show. I wanted to show the problems that these boys and girls face. And in the trailer, you see nice that we don't cover the problems explicitly, but in subtext and using art, via art. That will become more clear during the trailer. And that's the concept behind the film. After that, the logistics from Save the Children, which are cracks, they're incredible in going out into the territories, they're well known. They started with all the logistics, they coordinated with the boys and girls and leaders. We record, we filmed in Tumaco, also in Port Buenaventura and Guajira. We filmed those 3 parts, and the level of acceptance from the children was very high. They accepted us with open arms. We had quality equipment. I'd like to thank Mafia on Rental for the equipment they provided. It wasn't just Save the Children and my team, but other production agencies that joined forces. So I would like to thank them. And as I said, going back to the level of acceptance, it was very positive from the children. And we always received great support from the children in filming this documentary. That is what I would like to share. You, thank you very much for flexing your heart and soul. While logistically, you provided support. And everyone, move your chairs so you can look at this documentary, the trailer. I'd like to thank you and also say on behalf of the children, thank you for giving them a voice globally. I have an additional conclusion I would like to share. I'd like to say to us, the younger generation, with theater, with film, and with art, we should show these types of narratives that contribute positively and inspire others to help our community. I'd like to highlight all the support that Save the Children provide. The risks you as an NGO receive this proposal, the magnitude that Save the Children had, to tell them, hey, I'm on this project, and that they took the risk to these values we appreciate. And this has had a positive impact. It's been a success story in the press and the film festival. And this has been thanks to the support of Save the Children. And to work on film and theater here in Colombia, it's difficult. This has been allowed and possible thanks to them. So once again, thank you very much.
Pues me sentí muy bien, alegre, muy alegre, contenta porque me le pudieron dar la silla a mi niño, agradecida con Dios y con todos los miembros de la Fundación Save the Children que hicieron posible pues que nos dieran las sillas para los niños para su movilidad, que es lo más importante.
La discapacidad es algo que no la inventamos, eso Dios nos lo da en un momento que no esperamos. No nos pueden discriminar por tener cualquier discapacidad, sea la que sea, porque somos seres humanos valiosos igual que los que no la tienen.
Mucho beneficio para la vida de ella porque es una forma para ella poderse transportar para el colegio, para las terapias, y así yo puedo andar con ella para todas partes que me toca salir con ellos.
Esta silla es una bendición, vuelvo y lo digo. Soy madre de 2 hijos solteras y se me era pues más difícil andar con él en los brazos que en la silla. De verdadmente que es una bendición. Estoy súper agradecida con todos ustedes.
Y que siempre lleven en la mente y en el corazón que la discapacidad no está en la mente.
Desde el enfoque de discapacidad que Save the Children ha implementado a nivel nacional, se pretende vincular a los niños y niñas con discapacidad en las distintas actividades que nosotros desarrollamos en las comunidades donde estamos y en todo el territorio donde está Save the Children.
Siendo parte de Save the Children como médica en la atención en cuanto a maternas, recién nacidos, consultas de morbilidad y planificación familiar.
Soy agente comunitario de la oficina Planipiales. Mi labor consiste en hacer captación de posibles pacientes a los diferentes servicios que nosotros brindamos a la comunidad migrante, colombianos retornados y población vulnerable.
En Venezuela no teníamos la mejor calidad de vida que se puede decir, no teníamos una buena calidad de vida y salí embarazada de mi pareja, entonces si apenas podíamos mantenernos nosotros, con una bebé iba a ser imposible y no queríamos que nuestra hija corriera con la misma suerte que nosotros. Por WhatsApp siempre había publicidad de que Save the Children prestaba ciertos servicios para la comunidad venezolana, como lo eran atención de psicológica, atención de anticonceptivos. Entonces los anticonceptivos como que me interesaban y me comuniqué con ellos a través de WhatsApp. No sé con quién hablé ese día, pero a través de WhatsApp, y me dieron una cita, me dieron las inyecciones anticonceptivas y también me han venido prestando apoyo psicológico.
Por un grupo de WhatsApp me pareció bien, pues envié el mensaje porque tenía problemas de planificación y esas cosas, y enseguida, eso fue enseguida, o sea, envié el mensaje, enseguida me contactaron y la atención pues muy buena, buenísima, gracias a Dios, pues están ahí apoyando a uno, ya que uno no puede ir a otro lugar a verse, pues ellos están ahí para brindarle la mano a uno. Bueno, que sigan aportando, porque en verdad, o sea, no ayudan a una sola persona, se ayudan muchísimas personas que como yo no tienen pues niños, y de verdad agradecido porque ningún hombre me ha atendido tan bien.
El proyecto de Caminantes busca subsanar las necesidades de esta población que sale de Venezuela a otro país o a ciudades del interior de Colombia. Caminantes brinda una respuesta en el municipio de Arauca desde el 2019 a esta población que ha decidido empezar a caminar. En este momento estamos en el espacio de apoyo de la YES antioqueña, en la cual nosotros con entidades cooperantes que rige pues en el municipio hemos entrado a dar respuesta en diferentes áreas, brindando atención en todo el tema de prevención del COVID-19, ruta humana y segura, en la cual pues consiste en orientar y ubicar a las personas a su lugar de destino. Con esto permitimos que se optimice tiempo en el recorrido y de esa manera ellos tengan claro la ruta a la cual deben dirigirse. También complementamos con la entrega de asistencia humanitaria, kit de higiene. En su momento estamos entregando también calzado, pañales. Ya hemos identificado esas necesidades. La población llega con necesidades de alimentación, llega con necesidades de transporte, de alojamiento temporal, de higiene, de hidratación.
Días caminando y caminando, gente que nos colaboraban, gente que nos cogían, váyanse de aquí, nos dieron el aventón en una buseta. Cuando llegamos a la orilla del río también nos hicieron el favor de pasarnos porque no teníamos ni medio para pasar, pues. Y de ahí caminamos hasta un trecho por aquí hace como 2 kilómetros atrás. Ahí pasamos la noche pidiéndole a Dios que no lloviera, pues. Y bueno, ha sido muy duro porque ya casi 15 días caminando, ya uno como agotado, pues, pero siempre el ánimo por delante, pues.
Cuando ya vamos a hacer una atención en ruta, es una consolidación de toda la respuesta, ¿no? Entonces, damos pues los mensajes de prevención del COVID, la socialización de la ruta humana y segura, la entrega de asistencia humanitaria. Dentro de eso también hemos evidenciado pues riesgos a los cuales se exponen los niños y las niñas: mendicidad, abuso sexual, el tema de náfaga, que son niños, niñas asociados a fuerzas o grupos armados, en los cuales pues tratamos de darles una información a esos padres que acompañan a los niños para que los protejan y pues que podamos alejarlos de esa vinculación. También encontramos niños separados y no acompañados.
Nos encontramos en la distribución y entrega de los elementos y ayudas de movilidad para los niños y niñas que fueron identificados en el transcurso del proyecto.
Le doy gracias a la Fundación por este apoyo que me ha dado a mí y a muchos niños, y que sigan así en adelante ayudando a muchos niños que verdaderamente la necesitan.
Pues me sentí muy bien, alegre, muy alegre, contenta porque me le pudieron dar la silla a mi niño, agradecida con Dios y con todos los miembros de la Fundación Save the Children.
Right, and with this very emotional documentary, we will close our reunion for today, looking at the different improvements that we have for boys, girls, and adolescents in different border departments, Arauca, Valle, Nariño, Guajira. To all of you, thank you very, very much. For all of us who followed us via Facebook, YouTube, and to all of those who are present as well, thank you very much, and I hope to see you on another occasion.